Hello everybody, welcome to To Be Seen. I'm Brandon and this is Comic Conversation. And of course it's no fun and it's not even a conversation if I'm by myself. So today's special guest, one half of the Apostles of Chaos, the King of Chaos, Logan Black. Welcome to the show. Yeah, that's you, man.
Awesome, man. Good to be here. It's good. This is going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited for this.
I'm excited too. And part of the reason why this is happening is because you laid down the challenge yourself. It's like, I am dying for someone to have a podcast or something and bring me on and not talk about wrestling. Can we talk comic books?
Yeah, I want to talk comic books. Message to all of you guys out there doing wrestling podcasts. You ask the same 5 questions. Every time I do one of these, they ask me all these interesting questions that I can actually get an opinion on instead of talking for the 1,000th time, where did you get your start in wrestling? Let's talk some comic books, man.
Let's do that. For me, I know that wrestling and comic books are, I fell in love with them around the same time anyway. And wrestling and comic books, they're almost the same thing. Going back to Superman and seeing where he got his look from, getting his look from that strong guy kind of appeal.
100%.
Did you fall in love with them around the same time?
Yeah, so I think, I don't think that they were necessarily related, but I think that I definitely did, as a kid becoming a huge wrestling fan, and I think the same idea of superheroes being just, it's a good versus evil story, breaking it Hulk Hogan versus... I'm thinking back to Earthquake or Zeus, which, aren't necessarily the best feuds to bring up when it comes to Hogan. But no, it's the truth, the good versus evil, and then you can look into the good versus evil, and then in general, as you grow up, remaining a wrestling fan, remaining a comic book fan, and you attach yourself to the stories and the characters that kind of work in with you. I don't think that there's, obviously my name is Logan Black. Obviously there was a love of Wolverine somewhere in there, and I think every, gritty, angsty teenagers latching on to that character, or Spider-Man or any of those things. So you latch on to what you can relate to, and it's no different, with wrestling. Some people, love The Rock. Some people love Stone Cold. Some kids love John Cena. All these different characters are easy to latch on to, and I think comic books are very much the same idea.
You mentioned the angsty teenagers.
Certainly.
And it's funny coming up reading comics for me in the 80s and 90s. That's where I feel that's where I was at my youth, so it's where I'm most molded.
Certainly.
So the angsty teen age coinciding with the 90s dark age of comics really seemed to and I don't mean that in a negative way. I feel like the time period of the 90s comics gets a very bad rep.
I certainly agree. I love it. that was my bread and butter.
But I feel like it's given this bad rep for trying to emulate a lot of the 80s stories that we saw from people like Xmen or Alan Moore.
Certainly.
But 90s gave us, Ghost Rider. I feel like Ghost Rider, Venom, Punisher really that was the trifecta. And Wolverine and Spawn.
Spawn, yeah, you gotta think about that.
In the 90s, these were characters that really rose to prominence.
I think it all comes out of we were talking about with the 80s with Gaiman and Moore and stuff, because prior to a lot of that you had the comics were very, I don't want to say one-dimensional, but they kind of were. Good guys had square jaws and big muscles, bad guys and long chins, skinny and evil. It was always how it worked. And then you had, Alan Moore go in there and was I'm just going to screw all this up, and then gave us all these different stories where, there really was shades of gray with everything. Bringing that into what you're talking about with, Spawn and Venom and all these characters where they're all shades of gray. Spawn is the, in my opinion, the shades of gray character, because... literally, he's from hell. In the 70s, that would be a villain, bar none, stamped, done with. And in the 90s, that's your hero.
It's crazy to me because I feel while everyone focuses on the holographic foils that we can get on the covers.
Oh, yeah, I was...
I thought a lot of really cool ideas came out of that. We saw Wolverine, Grey Hulk, and Ghost Rider, and Spider-Man as a Fantastic Four unit.
Yeah.
It was a very odd time, and maybe one-dimensional, but also incredibly cool. They just threw anything against the wall at the time.
Hey, I think it was because they were hurting in some way.
It's true.
It's what are we going to do next? Because I think that was when the big bust for comics it hit. And it's what else are we going to do now to try and keep people buying these? Well, let's throw stuff at the wall, see what sticks. And I think a lot of that stuff was pretty cool because you got to see different elements of characters that we kind of still see today.
I know that one of the biggest comics of the 90s, and I'm bringing that up to tie into something that's happening, well, I guess technically already happened, but fairly recently. We saw Batman versus Bane.
Yes, we
and it was very different because it was the time where the Batman was broken. You know, Bane broke the bat.
Certainly. And
fast forward to now, we're coming off of Tom King's City of Bane.
Yes.
And it's always fun for me to see Bane because I feel that we get very poor representations of Bane in other forms of media.
Yeah, I would certainly.
whether it's in video games or in movies, he's normally just the big bulky guy.
Right.
Dark Knight Rises might have been the best we got of him, and it's still not exactly.
It was still very much based around his brawn instead of, you know, the genius that he was.
Now we're seeing that, and it's crazy because it feels like sometimes when writers jump onto a comic, everything changed dramatically with almost like no explanation. With Tom King's run, we got basically City of Bane, Gotham. He was basically running Gotham.
Oh yeah.
He had guys like the Riddler, Two-Face operating the police department.
Yeah, I know, going through those issues and kind of, like, I think when I had first started reading, like, through like the first few issues of, you know, City of Bane took place, I was like, what the hell's going on here? This doesn't make any sense. And then I was like, oh wait, that's why, because all these villains are taking over what like everybody else would, and kind of just recreating Gotham in their own evil image. Which again is a really interesting idea. You know, all the credit to Tom King for, you know, taking a lot of things, and just his style in general, and just completely going, all right, what is the complete opposite of what people are expecting, and giving that out there, and he makes it work. He did it with the War Jokes and Riddles.
Yeah.
When he started in with that, he did it with Kite Man, and again the same thing. Like, who thought Kite Man was going to be an interesting character to work with, and then boom, Kite Man is now like gone from a Z-list to, I'd say, a C or B-list villain.
Like, it's very easy to become emotionally attached to Kite Man.
Exactly. It's brilliant writing. And then again, King does it in general, where he did it with like Mr. Miracle and a lot of his other works. Just his style. So I think that, for me, you know, as City of Bane got started, it was very much like, all right, let's see where King develops it and goes with it.
Are you happy now that I don't even feel comfortable saying that it's ending, because I know that he's continuing with, I don't want to say he's finished with his Batman run, but he gets to continue a little bit with Batman and Catwoman.
Right, I'm waiting to see what that looks like. That should be fun. I'll be completely honest when I say I don't like how it ended, because it felt to me like they had this complete story, and we're building that complete story, and then out of nowhere it was just like the wind was just taken out of it. I didn't like the last 2 or so issues, just because the story just kind of felt deflated to me. It felt it was such a build with them killing off Alfred,
right,
and all of this like serious emotional stuff, and then it was just like the fight that we get is only like a few pages long, and it's quick, and it's kind of really inconsequential. It was just, instead of it being like this long drawn out like Batman Bane type fight that we saw in the 90s, where it was just, this is so much going on here, it was just kind of like, here.
Yeah, and unfortunately cancellations are some of the things that we have to deal with as readers.
Certainly. From what I understand, they were trying to do more issues, and they kind of like cut it down, so, which, you know, it sucks, but
I'm hoping we get to see more of what was missing, because it did seem very rushed.
Yeah.
We're still going to have to deal with the loss of Alfred.
Right.
Selina and Bruce still have a lot that they're going to have to work
Certainly.
out. And it is disappointing to see how that happened, because I guess my appreciation for Tom King came from his Vision comic.
Yes, so I was about to say that I used to take like big breaks between like collecting and reading comics, just because, you know, life gets in the way, things happen. And when I went to a shop and I was like, hey, what can you recommend for me? And the guy's like, you gotta read Vision. And I was like, dude, like, Vision, wow. But comic book people and ones at shops, they know their stuff.
Yeah.
Because I read that Vision, and I immediately, like, the next day bought the second volume.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. They did the same thing to me with Captain America, who was a character that, like, I never liked growing up.
Right.
And bit right into that. But Vision, absolutely brilliant stuff.
Do you rely on the store owners and comic book shops?
I used to.
The majority of the time?
I used to do that because I used to take longer breaks. Now I think I've been like a full year of like seriously keeping up and seriously collecting, whereas like I'd go a few months of like getting issues, pulling some trades here and there to go back into stuff. But Comic Shop put me on to Daredevil, which again was a character that I laughed at in the 90s, especially watching the Affleck movie.
Right.
Like I saw that, I was like, I'm like, Daredevil's something that I'm never gonna get. Daredevil is possibly like top 5 for me at this point. I absolutely love Daredevil. The current one is brilliant. I did it with Vision, Captain America. A lot of those characters are all based around just asking them, so what are you into? And I always give them Batman, Punisher, Wolverine. From that, dude gave me Vision.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. Like again, imagine
like I am into these people that
gritty,
with the exception of
violent,
Batman. Yeah,
gritty, violent,
don't
aggressive, brooding characters. Like yeah, dude, try Vision. It's like
seriously?
all right,
No,
dude. I don't know your name, but if you're out there, you're a wonderful fella.
It's funny, I think every year, because I have my lulls, even now, and I've been very honest with the people watching, that I find that I've been reading a lot of Spider-Man right now to catch up for the boycott that I put out after Brand New Day. Now that I have the Marvel Unlimited app and I'm giving them $10 every month, the boycott's pretty much over. I might as well just read.
No, certainly, I can get it.
So now that I've been reading that, I'm also trying to catch up on other things that I've missed. Vision was one of the things that come up. Off camera, we briefly talked Disney Plus TV shows, mainly because Hawkeye canceled, which caught me out of nowhere. I really liked I believe it was Matt Fraction who was doing Hawkeye, and I thought that was a really good comic.
That probably would have been good.
I only recently learned that not Captain America, Winter Soldier and Falcon was canceled too. So I'm just happy that WandaVision is not only is it not canceled, the promotion's already on the way. They canceled it now, but very upset.
Right. No, that does sound promising. WandaVision stuff.
With the Doctor Strange, the director unfortunately had to step off Doctor Strange into the multiverse of madness.
Okay.
And is that a show that you're looking forward to? Because they're supposed to tie in.
With Doctor Strange?
Are you looking forward to the WandaVision show, Doctor Strange movie? Is that something that has your eye at all?
I mean, it's certainly anything superhero. I'm gonna probably go see for the most part. So I mean, I'm definitely gonna be checking it out. Whether
Joe's not. Joe, producer Joe over there is not. He's not a WandaVision guy. But
I can
we're
understand.
talking about Vision, and it's like, I'm in.
So from what I've heard, again, it could just be like the rumors I'm hearing. I don't know if any of it's true, but some of the WandaVision stuff was similar to like all of her warping that she did in like House of M, or all the things like that, which I absolutely loved. So that's gonna get my interest going in it. Not that because I'm not necessarily tied to Scarlet Witch as a character, but just what her powers can produce.
Right.
Because I've said this to plenty of people. One of my big things that I love are when like a writer or like they just go outside of the box. Because we know Peter Parker. It's Uncle Ben. He's dead. Bitten by radio. We know what's going on. You don't have to rewrite that. Superman. He's from Crypt. We get it. Give me a weird take on any of this. I collect a lot of like Elseworldy. I mean, it's different by different names, but Elseworld type stuff. So getting something like WandaVision where it's all like, kind of changing things up.
Right.
It should be fun.
And you did mention that you're very much excited for Kamala Khan's series, Ms.
Yes, I think possibly like my favorite like new character in the last 10 years it's been around. Yeah, it's very, very new.
It's funny because when they talk about, I guess, new heroes of the last decade, it's a lot of legacy youth heroes, like Miles Morales, Spider-Man, Kamala Khan, I guess, I don't really want to say Gwenpool. Again, Gwenpool's been pretty popular, actually.
Ghost Spider and all that too.
Ghost Spider.
Yeah.
So a lot of these younger legacy characters, even Nova, that one surprised me. But Kamala Khan is probably one of the most important characters to be a creation of the last decade.
Certainly, and I think does a lot for me. Seeing characters like Kamala Khan or Miles Morales and stuff like that, like seeing young characters of color represented, like, and getting all that kind of attention, it's great because there are so many kids who are, latching on to characters now that they can kind of see themselves in. I think I mentioned to you before we started recording how Kamala Khan, for a lot of the comic, it's way more based around her just being like a brown girl from Jersey City and having to deal with like high school and an overprotective family and having to sneak out to be a superhero. How many kids can relate to that? That's what's gonna bring so many more people into your stories, not just give them kind of the same thing. As much of a Punisher fan as I am, we've heard all those stories. Give us something different.
Yeah, I agree, and I do feel like as much as we get a lot of young Spider-Man now, whether it be on cartoons or Tom Holland as Spider-Man in the movies. We do seem to be going backwards a lot by looking at, and I'm all for young Spider-Man, he's very entertaining, but we have these younger legacy heroes already here. Already mentioned Miles Morales and Nova, the Champions, for example, because they were a team, Young Avengers like Logan. It seems like we're actually going to be propping a lot of these younger heroes up higher than they have them
Certainly.
before. Is that a positive direction do you see for the comics industry right now?
I think so, because, Spider-Man's always going to be there. Peter Parker is always going to be there.
Right.
People are always going to get behind Peter Parker. People are always going to get behind Bruce Wayne or, like, any of these, the legends, for the most part. Like, the real, serious comics. Everyone's going to get behind those because there's so much history to it. So why not bump everybody else up? Because, there are new stories to be written. There's only so much that you can do with a lot of these guys. But people are still going to buy into it because there's that connection. But there's a lot more you can do with the Miles Morales or Nova or Kamala Khan or any of those. There's a lot more you can, in my opinion.
I had mentioned at the very beginning, talking about the ties to wrestling and comic books, bringing up Superman as like the first superhero, and every other superhero kind of modeled after that.
Certainly.
DC right now is, I don't want to say they're revamping again, because Lord, they've done
enough
it.
of that.
And Marvel's just as guilty, I guess, when you have new generations, you've got to do what you can.
Of course. Especially in the way that we consume media nowadays, where everything is, 1, 2, 3, and it's on.
And I don't even get mad, because all of this to me is better than like the Marvel Reborn days of, like, when you talk about bad periods of the 90s, to me Marvel Reborn.
Oh yeah.
That was bad. That was bad. But in the process of, I guess, changing and maybe lining up closer to the Warner Brothers movies, it looks like we're going to be seeing Wonder Woman as the official first superhero, like, in canon for the DC universe. And I'm not sure exactly where it's going to go from there, but there seems to be like a hole now. Are you? Is this? I don't know if you'd be excited for a change like that, but do you have optimistic views for DC and there?
I mean, in my opinion, there's only one way that DC can go, and it's up, because I haven't enjoyed a lot of what they've done in terms of like movies and all that for quite some time. I left Suicide Squad. My then girlfriend, now wife. Both of us were just like, that is the worst movie we've ever seen. That is awful. The whole walk from the theater home, we'd stop for like 5 seconds, and then that scene, it would just rip it apart. And it was similar with Justice League.
I didn't even watch Justice League.
Yeah, it was similar with that one. Just like that was boring. That sucked. Wow. So there's only one way that they can go, and that's up. And I think, they've got their work cut out for them. So a lot of the Marvel movies have been great, but they can model a lot of that stuff, seeing what works. Oh, and I mentioned Suicide Squad being terrible, but Birds of Prey is coming out, and that seems to have a bit more promise.
See, I have mixed feelings about that, because Suicide Squad to me almost feels like two movies, because there's things about Suicide Squad that I really enjoyed, and things about Suicide Squad that I absolutely hated. And my fear is that they're going to eliminate all the things I enjoyed. Take all the things I didn't and put that into what feels like Harley Quinn the movie, not Birds of Prey.
Yeah, no, I think you make an excellent point. I think they also do realize that Harley Quinn is that's their bread and butter, their meal ticket.
Yeah.
they can sell 1 billion more, Harley Quinn in Birds of Prey Halloween costumes once it comes out. So I get it. But I think I have higher hopes for that, and I have higher hopes where they're going to go with it. As many people who hated the idea of Pattinson as Batman, I'm willing to walk in with an open mind because let's see where it goes. Because Christian Bale got a whole lot of flack when they cast him.
Heath Ledger got a whole lot of flack.
What's his face who played Wolverine? I'm blanking on the name.
Hugh Jackman?
Jackman. Again, I remember
he was a nobody.
Right, but I remember reading in all the comic book media where he's like 6'1", Wolverine's supposed to be this. he's too lean. Wolverine's supposed to be built like a massive, and everyone crapped all over it. And then he comes out and he's a fantastic character. So you got to give a lot of these guys the benefit of the doubt.
I'll admit, I want my short Wolverine though.
I take no issue with the short Wolverine. But there's no denying that guy played the hell out of that role for the best part of well over a decade.
Oh yeah, he is Wolverine as far as I'm concerned.
Certainly.
That's gonna be like one of those legacy things that no matter where he goes and what he does, the same way we talk about Sean Connery as James Bond.
Right.
He's Wolverine.
Right. I think it's the same deal like when you talk about Heath Ledger, where the character was written a certain way. And he made it his own. Whereas the same thing with Heath Ledger. The character of Joker was written a certain way. Heath Ledger put his own spin on it. And now, how many grittier Jokers do you see? Again, you reading stuff in the 70s and 80s too, where Joker was, he was evil, but he was ha ha he he. And I don't know, in the last, since Dark Knight, Joker has been way more of a Heath Ledger character in every single book.
Yeah, I kind of miss ha ha he he Joker because you've got stable face Joker, you've got Joaquin Phoenix Joker, which I enjoyed the movie. I don't think it was I feel like people rated it 10 out of 10. And it's got 11 Oscar nominations.
I think he did know he won something in Screen Actors Guild. Different.
And I thought Joaquin, the actor, did great. I even enjoyed the film. I'm not
I liked it too a lot.
But I feel like I don't know if it's every Joker performance but I feel like it's got this really high pedestal right now.
I would agree. So I have an opinion on the movie. I think, and this is my weird conspiracy theory on the subject. Let me know how you feel about it. And everyone watching, let us know how you feel about it. Some really creative person wrote this story called, what was the guy's name? What did Joaquin Phoenix did he play?
Arthur Fleck.
Arthur the Clown was the name of the movie. And he wrote this great movie about this guy Arthur, who, he's this mentally sick person, and he's a clown, and it's this excellent story that, it was a great story, and he was shipping it out. Nobody was biting on it because it was a great idea, but who's going to jump in on this sad clown story? Until the people at Warner Brothers saw it. They were like, what if we turn Arthur the Clown into the Joker? And then one guy put his hand over the back and goes, we'll change this character into Thomas Wayne. Yeah, and then this scene will happen. Cool, and we'll shoehorn this scene in at the end where the Wayne parents get killed, and now we can slap Joker on it and we'll call it Gotham City instead of Chicago or New York or wherever. Because in all honesty, if you change the name of the Waynes to like the Smith family, the rich Smiths of Tennessee, whatever, that movie can exist completely having no references to Batman, the Joker, or anything in the DC universe. That's my theory.
Interesting theory. I'm not going to push that away, but it's funny because tweets have become. It's like I see tweets on Facebook now, and I see tweets. It's like they become the memes. The tweet themselves are the memes now. And so I saw a tweet where someone had said he was countering the statement that, and I feel bad now because I forgot the director's name. I think it is Tom Phillips. What? Todd? See, Tom is from wrestling, isn't he? God damn it.
Tom Phillips is an announcer. I think he's so one of the major brands.
Yeah, one of them. Yeah. So Todd Phillips. I knew I messed that up. Todd Phillips, he had said that the success of the Joker movie has nothing to do with Batman. And the tweet in response says, you remove Bruce Wayne, Gotham, the Joker himself, and just call it, instead of Joker, just call it the Clown, it does not make the money and get the praise.
Which is that, yeah, exactly what I was saying.
I agree with that too. But with it's funny because, and I try not to talk about it too much because I try to focus on the comics, not deal too much with what critics of film.
Of course, yeah, 100%.
But when you see a Scorsese going referred to, and I know Marvel films were kind of targeted, but I feel like Marvel films is kind of like the same way that grandmas just called all video games Nintendo.
Yeah, of course.
But you have Scorsese go kind of refer to comics, the comic movies as theme parks. They're like roller coasters.
Yeah.
But also, I kind of felt bad that he didn't even watch the Joker. He saw like a little bit of it.
I mean, I think he's gonna feel that way regardless because he's coming from a very different perspective. It's again comparing comic books or even this form of entertainment, movies, to wrestling. You've got the old guard who like things a certain way and they keep things a certain way and they're always used to something a certain way. And then something else starts to be cool and fun and make money. And suddenly that old guard that is not getting the kind of attention that they used to is kind of like, well, that's not how you do that. So different with wrestling. Jordan Oliver goes out there and does a million different flips and it's, cool and breaks the internet. And, Jim Cornette and Fit Finlay take a steaming dump on it because it's not what they like. Scorsese's no different. He sees, the Xmen, he sees Spider-Man and the Avengers, and they're all making money. And it's like, well, I put, this into what I do and it's different. So, who cares about that? Phooey. It's generations fighting. It's no different to me.
Well, continuing with both Batman and also, I guess, a little bit of the wrestling and how it's just how closely the businesses seem to. The concept of, I guess, last decade WWE, it seemed like the first half was the face of the company was like the storyline.
Certainly.
And to a certain extent, it still is. Even to, you see Ric Flair and Becky Lynch having their own non-televised issues about the man.
Right.
The concept of the man and the person who's putting booties in seats, it exists way beyond WWE.
Of course, yeah, that's...
even before Ric Flair. But the idea that this is the draw, we kind of touched on that with Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is the draw, or is the draw for
anything
the Bird of Prey.
Anything she'll be.
I mean, she's got an animated series out on the DC app. Batman, in general, has kind of become number one. Like it used to be a 3, and it still is a 3. Wonder Woman, Superman, Batman are the Trinity, but it seems like Batman's become the selling point, the market value thing that we are, at least when it comes to DC, is what all things are compared to.
Of course.
We've got at least 3 or 4 different Batman comics. There's a DC Black brand, almost like
the Black Label. Yeah. Love those ones.
Joker has, I think, 2 of them on his own.
Yeah, Lemire's writing one of them, and then there's Harleen is the one I think he's in like another one of his own as well, but I could be wrong on that.
Batman, I think, has about 2.
Yeah, I think they just finished Deceased.
Yeah,
which was he was in that,
and it's become an object of criticism for the creator of Black Lightning. Probably because Batman and the Outsider and Black Lightning is in the Outsiders, and it's still very much like a Batman title. The Outsiders, they don't only operate in Gotham, but Batman kind of oversees. It's almost like I don't want to say Teen Titans, but it's like a subgroup that Batman kind of oversees. Do you see this as a negative thing for DC business that Batman is the man and so much attention is put on it?
So, got a theory about this as well. And again, if you can tie this to wrestling, everything in existence ties to wrestling. Everything you're interested in, you always pull it to wrestling. We're in an era where, again, everything is shades of gray. There are no good guys or bad guys. You can have an antagonist and a protagonist, but it doesn't necessarily mean that, one is good and one is bad. You mentioned Becky Lynch. Becky Lynch is for those of you who don't know, is a female wrestler whose bravado and like her just the way that she carries herself is what has made people attach themselves to her. Now, she's gone from being like your standard like good to being your standard bad, and has kind of played both sides for the better part of, I'd say, 3 years, still drawing money for the company. Because people just attach themselves to character traits and what they see themselves in. And I think that is going back to Batman, where you have Batman has always been shades of gray. Batman, especially the way they've written him, I'd say, in the last 20 to 30 or so years, where, you know, he's not, you know, that 50s kind of like fun, you know, dancing Batman. He's got issues. He's still dealing with, you know, his parents' death. And that vow is always something that's, especially with Tom King's one, always brought up as like, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing that you have doomed yourself to this?
Right.
Whereas I think Superman for me has always been very one-dimensional, and I get that, you know, right now all of, you know, the people who are watching who are Superman fans are clutching at their chest. And I understand that. I know that you guys probably have a better understanding of the character than I do. But again, guy, square jaw, big muscles, can't be defeated. If there's a superpower, he's got it.
Right.
At that point, what do you or I have to connect to that? Or, you know, maybe not, just people in general. Wonder Woman is similar. Wonder Woman can be a character can in some ways be very one-dimensional. I'm sure there's writers who have written these characters well, but Batman, there's always those shades of gray, and that's why I think people latch onto that, and why he's number one at this point is because people can sit there and go, well, yeah, you know, he, you know, crippled that criminal. And, you know, crippling people, you know, for being a criminal can be wrong, and, you know, you're not supposed to kill people and all that, but, you know, maybe there's some justification. You know, maybe he's got some kind of issues that, you know, I can relate to. It's all related in my eyes. Everything is always relatability. Wrestling is always relatability. Dusty Rhodes, one of the biggest draws of the 80s, was relatable because I'm the son of a plumber. He's the son of a plumber. How many people in the crowd were like the son of some like serious like blue collar working class person? Yes, Dusty speaks for me. I'm here for Dusty. Cool, and you show up, you pay your money. It's no different when it comes to comic books.
It made me wish that I actually watched more NWA when I was younger, because the Dusty I got just ate a lot of pizza, which is also relatable.
The Dusty that I got wore polka dots, so I think the pizza's at least a little bit better. But my Uncle Monocles were huge wrestling fans, so they were big NWA guys, so I would always get those tapes. But they were way more about Flair than they were Dusty.
If there were a comic book character, or this comic what character would you be? Because
my current character or something like the qualities of something new.
Current character. Okay. Because I know that CM Punk's already had his chance at writing. I think he's did a little bit of.
He did Drax. Yeah. Because my tag partner Chris Benet found the entire 4 or 5 issue run of it and was really excited.
I think Batista got his hands on something.
That's very possible as well.
But my favorite wrestling written superhero story, and it's only one issue. I think it was a Web of Spider-Man or Untold Tales of Spider-Man by Scott Levy. Raven.
We drove him around Massachusetts not too long ago. Interesting car ride we can talk about once the cameras go.
But he actually wrote a really good Spider-Man. It wasn't even about Spider-Man. Spider-Man himself was like almost a non-factor. But it was about Crusher Hogan, the man who gave Spider-Man his fame.
Yep.
In his wrestling match.
Got you for 3 minutes.
Bone saws. Yeah.
That's Crusher Hogan. Still.
But Raven wrote that story, and I loved it. Maybe I'm biased.
I'm gonna have to search that out. That's pretty cool.
I gotta see if I can find it. But it was coming from a perspective of an independent wrestler, where the promoter, let's just pretend that he's some sort of Gabe or Paulie or somebody, couldn't afford to pay Hogan anymore.
That sounds a lot like plenty of those guys.
But I guess dedicated to the place that he was working at in an almost Tommy Dreamer sort of way. He's the one that came up with the angle of challenging people from the audience that Peter Parker was the one that eventually answered. But I thought it was very interesting seeing from that perspective, and I always kept an eye out for when the wrestlers would.
Oh yeah.
Who would you write? What story would you want to tell?
So it is a really hard question to just put together off the top of my head, but I will, to the best of my ability. I think I couldn't write something like a Kamala Khan or Miles Morales and do it justice. What I think that I would try and go to is an oddball character that doesn't have like anything of its own and kind of just like, well, what could we do with it? And the first thing that came to me would either be America Chavez, which I just wouldn't feel qualified to do because I'm not a woman, and I think a woman should be writing a character like that to really give it like the right feel. Kid Omega.
Oh wow.
And writing a story on how Kid Omega is, I mean, just one of the most powerful mutants in the world, and just because of that, the amount of like loneliness that someone like that has to feel, like legitimately having all the power in the world, everything at his fingertips, but just can't fit in anywhere. So literally just having to, exist in a world of, sadness or kind of depression, loneliness, while still like having everything at his fingertips. The idea of, that king that can, find happiness because it's just, well, I'm lonely.
Now, I was listening, got slightly distracted, and I think that makes the time for a great story, because that's the sort of thing that you don't expect from like a Marvel DC. Like they're going to be told as you call them, Elseworlds.
Right.
They're going to happen in the Black Label. The thing I'm distracted by, I'm not sure if you want to can, but I think, is this the Comics Code Authority label on your
face? I had gotten that. Yeah, I got that one. It's one of the first few that I'd gotten. Oh, there you go. The plan was to do an entire half sleeve of like comic book related stuff, and then I just kind of like got really indecisive about it. I mean, I've got Punisher up here.
Yeah,
I'm a big Punisher fan, and I'd always wanted to get like more stuff. That I'd get a Watchmen over here, but yeah, like the goal was to have like comic pages going. That would be like the centerpiece. Although I think at this point I might cover this up with like a much more robust Batman style piece.
Oh.
But I always get like whenever like nerds check, oh fuck, comic code. I'm like, yeah.
It's funny because like we this probably is the longest conversation we've had.
Oh, dope.
Okay.
I tend to ramble.
No, I mean you and me in general. Like I've probably known you for the better part of 8 years. I want to say. I came into for those that don't know, I used to work with a couple of and still jump around every now and then as an interviewer with some pro wrestling organizations. I started in, I want to say 2011. And so this is like after maybe 8 years of knowing you, going on 9 years now. This is my first time, I guess, catching that, or maybe really noticing.
No, it's yeah.
Oh man, see, I just want a Quicksilver, or should I say Flash's wings. I want those on my ankle. I will never run as fast as him, but if I could at least have those wings.
That is pretty cool. I dig that.
I imagine ankle tattoos are very painful though.
It depends. It really depends on on exactly what part of the ankle that you're getting.
Right,
bone stuff is never fun.
Okay, I'll keep that in mind. This has jumped around.
Certainly
yes.
Makes it relatable to everybody. People can jump in at the parts that they like.
Yes, the wrestling fans, the tattoo aficionados. I want to, but before we wrap up, I do want to talk about Xmen.
Sure.
I'm gonna have probably another Xmen conversation sometime in the future, but I'm gonna jump into it now because so much has changed.
Oh yeah,
it's
massive.
And I'm not one who likes to frown on the pre-Disney purchase of X-Men, because I still felt like there was a lot of good X-Men comics that came out of that time.
Certainly.
But now that X-Men and Fantastic Four are back into the family, Jonathan Hickman has had the luxury of ushering in the new era of X-Men.
Oh yeah, he's turned the entire series on its head.
We've got about 4 or 5 different teams now. They're all living on Krakoa, because I was about to say Genosha for a second. That's long gone.
Yeah, very long gone.
As is Asteroid M and every other place, Dave. But now they're on Krakoa, and they've got this nation state. Villains welcome. Everyone's there.
If you're a mutant, it's I think being a bit of a politics nerd myself, it's similar to Israel, whereas like if you are Jewish, you have Israeli citizenship. You can go to Israel, you can claim birthright, all those kind of things. Same with Krakoa. If you are a mutant, you have a home in Krakoa.
They even have their own language now.
Yep, and the second that you come onto the island, it is implanted by the psychics into your head, so you are able to read it and understand it. It's fantastic. It's a really interesting concept.
Were you always an X-Men fan before this?
110%. X-Men was the first comic book that I ever got into, and I always mention this whenever I'm on these podcasts. My uncle was a massive comic book fan, massive comic book collector. He was an X-Men guy. Huge X-Men fan, so all the stuff that he had from like the 80s and 90s is stuff that I would read growing up.
It was hard not to be for us.
Yeah, and it really, like, you know, the cartoon really helped catapult it, and once that was out, you know, and the second X-Men, the not Uncanny, but the regular just X-Men series in the 90s they did, the video games, that was, my youth is all of that. So yeah, X-Men was my, you know, number one for a long time.
So with Hickman doing what he's doing now, and we know that there's a whole lot, his whole writing style, whether it be stuff he did with, I think he was doing S.H.I.E.L.D., Fantastic Four, Avengers, like he normally has just this huge roadmap, diagrams that are on display before the
very much
begin or after.
Very much about details.
Can you even bother to predict where you see this going?
I can throw predictions out there, but I'm sure he's gonna go in that direction. I'm interested in seeing where they do what they do with X-Men Fantastic Four, because I think we mentioned he sowed some of the seeds in the early House and Powers of X where Cyclops was talking to the Fantastic Four, and he let Reed Richards like, hey, whenever Franklin is ready to come home, we got a spot for him because Franklin Richards is a mutant. Which I think is going to be what sets up this X-Men Fantastic Four, all based around Franklin Richards. That's where I see that going. I think we're seeing a lot right now in all of the X-related stories of different villains, or again, not necessarily villains, but those shades of gray of like just people who are coming to either take the resources of Krakoa or try and take out the leadership, Magneto, Professor X, and all of them. We're sowing the seeds of all these new non-mutant threats because all the mutants are welcome and everyone's kind of, they're kind of protagonists in this case.
It's
so you have
odd
these,
seeing mutants, the people I've classified for so long as villains, not as the threat. Like Apocalypse as a member of Excalibur.
And he's just chill. He's just like, all right, I'm cool. We're all good. I do, however, predict that Mr. Sinister is gonna pull some sinister, not quite a pun there, but some evil things are gonna go on with him in Krakoa, I think, down the line. Mm-hmm. But that still remains to be seen. It's all, I think, for me, I've really enjoyed basing everything around like the human terroristic threat to Krakoa. I really enjoyed that.
I'm very much looking forward to X-Men Fantastic Four. I still got a lot to read. Like I'm doing a lot of catch up. Like I'm familiar with House of X, Powers of X.
Yeah.
But even now you've got X-Force, New Mutants. It's hard to keep.
There's a lot to go. Fallen Angels, Excalibur.
Yeah,
there's a lot going on.
I think this week Children of the Atom is coming out, which is funny because I think about the video game.
Of course.
Children of the Atom. So I don't even know if this is like a non-canon, like throwback kind of.
I think it is because it's not on my list of things to grab.
Right.
So I think it is a throwback.
I have no clue what to expect because there's so much to catch up to. Is there anything else you're looking forward to in general, any company in 2020?
So I'm currently reading, and I'm liking where it's going, Ninja Turtles Power Rangers.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, you know what? It's one of those things where I haven't picked up a Ninja Turtles book maybe ever, but 8-year-old me would beat the ever-loving crap out of me currently if I did not get Power Rangers, Ninja Turtles, and it's been fun so far. I've been enjoying that. Dying is Easy is an indie title that I happen to really like, based around a stand-up comic who's framed for murder. I happen to really like where that is. I'm a huge Moon Knight fan. The Moon Knight stuff that's going to be coming out on the Disney streaming service I'm just super excited for that. Yeah, I mean, for me, I kind of just like a little bit of everything. So anything that's coming out that has characters that I dig, or even is written by a writer that I happen to really enjoy, I'm gonna hop into it.
Yeah, I'm hoping to jump onto Morbius. I haven't done it yet.
Vida Ayala is a brilliant writer.
Went to school with her.
Did you really?
Yeah, she was a couple years below me, a couple grades below me. So it's amazing seeing someone who, like, I went to school with that person.
That's pretty cool.
And doing amazing things, not just in Marvel either, but also I think she's got James Bond.
Yeah, let's say she's
out.
writing James Bond. There was something else that she's writing too that I was like, oh man, like that's like a major book. I forgot what it was. I'm sure I'll think about it the second that we turn the camera off.
Yeah,
that's always how
that's how it works.
Right? No, it's she's gonna be a heavyweight.
Yeah.
In terms of comic writers.
It's amazing seeing how far she's going, and I'm interested in seeing how long it is, because that's I think as a Spider-Man fan, I've mentioned it a couple times already. You know, and also the cartoon being a huge influence, both Xmen and Spider-Man.
Certainly.
They while they were appealing to a younger generation, were showing a lot of the older stories.
Yeah, 100%.
And so seeing that six-armed Spider-Man and that Man Spider and Lizard and Morbius, like that's what got me into a lot of the, I feel like, lesser appreciated villains.
Oh, certainly. I am all about the C and D list villains for any series. If someone can write them and make it fun, I am all about checking it out. Always.
You know, and this is just going to keep going on, and I'm going to wrap it up, I swear. But a friend of mine once, for, I don't know if it was for Christmas or for my birthday, he'd gotten me the first issue, the first appearance, I should say, of Paladin, who is this anti-hero mercenary, more mercenary than anti-hero, because he'll do the job, but I do see him skewing more heroic at times.
Certainly. Shades of gray.
Yeah, but he's got like the worst costume. He's in like all purple. He's got this weird helmet. He looks like a product of like a 70s, just like action.
Did it start in the 70s?
I think he's an early 80s guy.
There was an interesting costume in the early 80s.
But every now and then I'll see him make like little special appearances that I really enjoy. But like the little B and C and even D characters, like
those are my favorites.
I love it. So I'm really looking forward to more of these and seeing what he gets. Maybe, who knows, 2020 we'll get that Paladin series. Probably not.
You never know, man.
Would you be willing to come back to talk more Fantastic Four and Xmen?
Anytime.
Looking forward to that.
Whenever you guys are willing to have me, I'm happy to talk about my love of all things media and comics.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Thank you guys so much.
And any appearances you got lining up that you want to?
I've got nothing but appearances lined up. So you can check me out on social media, King of Chaos NYC on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. All of my upcoming dates, all my upcoming appearances are always there. I got plenty of merch to check out. I'll be setting up a Pro Wrestling Tees store this week. If you don't get a chance to check me out at shows where you see my merch table, it is maybe double the size of this table. Everybody hates me at shows, but I got a lot of stuff. You should come check it out. And that's about...
Oh, you're such a nice guy.
Well, I mean, when you're on the show and you want to put your shirts down, and I'm like, I've got 10 of them here. I'm like, all this stuff, sorry. At least I'm polite about it. But yeah, lots of stuff for you guys to check out. And if you're watching this, share it. Let people know what's going on. The more we build this community together, the better that it is for everybody. If you dig comic books, dang it, just share it. Spread the love to your friends. It's how I got into it. I'm sure it's how everyone here got into it. So, spread that love. That's the message I'd like to leave with.
Oh, thank you very much. And you can follow us on Twitter at Comic Combo, COMICONVO. Follow me at Lewis or Brandon on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe to the channel. Share. Like our Facebook and all that stuff. Keep reading. Thank you for joining the conversation.